All right, Advanced Algebra 1, Topic 2, Section 1, Part 2. Okay, and what we're supposed to be doing is now the line is going to be graphed for us, so they're going to give us clues about the line, and we are supposed to find the equation of the line. So when they give us the graph, it's really not that difficult. We're going to put these into slope-intercept form. So y equals mx plus b. So I need to know slope and I need to know y-intercept. So looking at this graph, I can figure out both. I can see where it's crossing the y-axis. That's at 0, -1. So b is -1. Something x minus 1. Then for that something in front of the x, I find the slope. And I pick 2 points. And it looks like I rose 1, 2, 3, and I ran 2. This is rising 3 and running 2. And 1, 2, 3, looks like I did that again. Rise 3, run 2. So my slope is 3/2. And when they give me the graph, that's all there is to figuring that out. Now, they're going to give you these graphs, and you're going to have to pay attention to the scales. They're going to change that, and so when you're looking at the actual graphs, you got to look at the scale to figure out the y-intercept and the slope. And then you also, it's not going to be, it's not going to have the delineated marks, the dots where I'm going to use those dots to find the next point or the slope or whatever. You're going to have to be creative and find, 2 places where it's crossing on, the graph on the line. Like we wouldn't want to pick this point, find the rise and the run, because it's not on a crossing point. It's not on have a fractional value, and I would be guessing what that fractional value is. So when they give you the graph and they're asking you to find the equation of the line, just pay particular attention to the graph, the scale, and how you're finding that slope. Make sure you're going from a grid to a grid to find the slope, not halfway in between or something. Okay. Well, those are few and far between. The most of what we do in advanced math, and I mean, as we continue to take classes, etc., we actually are given 2 points. And in this case, this point is special. It's special because it's the point 0, 1, and the point 0, 1 is right here. So what they gave us the y-intercept, which was very kind of them. To use the slope to find, or to use the points to find the slope, is what we do. Slope, as I said, is defined as rise over run. And if we go back up here, we determined that the rise here is 3, that the run here is 2. So the rise corresponds to the y values. If I were to look at the ordered pair there and here, the change in y is 1 y value, 2 y values, 3 y values. Or the change in y is 2 minus -1, 3. And so the formula for finding the slope of the line is I take the change in y over the change in x. Okay? How much, where did I go? If I count -1 to 2, I count 3. If I count from 0 to 2, I count 2. So the way we describe that is we say we take y sub 2 minus y sub 1, and this is a subscript. Okay, it's a subscript telling me that I'm using 2 different y values here. I'm using y values from the point x1, y1, and y value from the point x2, y2. So I'm taking y minus the other y. That's delta y, that's the change in y, over x minus the other x. And the only rule here is that I have to go the same way both times. So in other words, if I come up here to find my slope, and I take 2 minus 1, this 2 minus 1 over here, then I have to do this 2 for the x minus 0 for the other x. I can't switch the order. I can't do 2 minus 1 and then do 0 minus 2. That will result in the wrong answer always. Okay? So my slope of this line is 1/2. So I have the slope, I have the y-intercept. So the equation of that line that goes through that points, those points are y equal 1/2 x plus 1. It already has the y-intercept for us there. Now, it's not always going to have the y-intercept for us there. We're going to have to find that algebraically, which is not difficult. So here we go, full scale. There is something special about these points. One, this is your x-intercept because the y value is 0. Y value is 0. They give me the x value, that's the x-intercept. And this happens to be my y-intercept because the x value is 0. When that happens, this is my y-intercept. So the first thing I need to do is find the slope. So I'm going to take 2 minus 0, that's 2 minus 0, over 0 minus 4, and that's 0 minus 4. If I do 2 minus 0, I have to do 0 minus 4 that way. So I get 2 over negative 4, which is negative 1/2. Negative 1/2. So we plug that into y equals mx plus b. So y equals negative 1/2 x plus, they gave us the y-intercept again, it's 2. So I don't have to use algebra to find the y-intercept. They gave it to us. There it is. Okay. That's our answer. That's the equation of the line that goes through those points. Okay. Wouldn't be our textbook if we didn't have fractions. So here we go with the fractions. Slope, find the slope first. So I'm going to take the y, so 1/2 minus 0, y minus the other y value, over 5/8 minus 3/8. And we're going to do some simplifying here. The 1/2 minus 0 is 1/2. 5/8 minus 3/8 is 2/8. 2/8 reduces to 1/4. And we've talked about dividing fractions. Dividing by this fraction is the same as multiplying by its reciprocal. And now when I simplify that, I get, here we go. The slope of that line that connects those points is 2. Now, they gave me the x-intercept, but to write the equation of the line, I need the y-intercept. So far, I have the slope. I have y equals 2x plus b. So how do we find b? We choose one of these points. We plug them in for x and y in my equation down here. We solve that for b. So I'm going to plug in 0 for y. And I'm choosing this point because the y value is 0. It's going to make it easier. And I'm going to plug in 2 times 3/8 for x. Okay. And I do the math and I solve this equation. 0 equals 2 times 3/8 is 3/4. Then I would subtract 3/4 from both sides. So b is negative 3/4. My answer is y equals 2x minus 3/4. And that's it. That's all there is to it. I found the slope using my slope formula. and I wrote my equation. I plugged in one of these points. It doesn't matter which one. If I plug in this point, I would have gotten the same answer. I chose this point because it was easier to made the math easier. I only had to deal with the one fraction. Okay, and there we go. Okay, this is my last example. So we're given 2 points. We're supposed to find the equation of the line that goes through these 2 points. So the first thing I find is the slope. I'm going to take y minus the other y value. And I do need to write this out and show my work. People constantly, even in my pre-calculus class, try to get through these steps, not show their work, and it doesn't work. You need to show your work so you're consistent and you can look at it to confirm whether your answer is right and know that it is or isn't. So I'm going to do 2 minus negative 6, which means I have to do 1 minus negative 2. And then in the numerator, that becomes 8. The denominator, that becomes 3. So the slope of my line is 8/3. So far, I have y equals 8/3 x plus b. So now what I need to do is I need to plug in a point. And it doesn't matter which point I plug in. It's going to be equally messy, and I'm going to have to deal with fractions. I'm actually going to plug in the point 1, 2, because no negatives. Okay, that's the simple reason. So I'm going to plug in 2 for y. I'm going to plug in 1 for x. Okay, so I get 2 equals 8/3 plus b. And then I need to subtract 8/3 from both sides to solve for b. Okay, well, 2 is 6/3. And 6/3 minus 8/3 is negative 2/3. Bad, right? And you can always use, if you don't understand this, you can always use your calculator with the fraction. And hopefully everybody's on board with that now and able to do that. If you're not able to use your calculator and you can't figure this out either, then you really need to come in and get that straightened out. So anyway, my answer, we're all done here. My answer is y equals the slope, which is 8/3 x, minus the y-intercept, which is 2/3. And this would be a difficult one to graph because of the y-intercept being 2/3. It just makes it a harder one to graph. I'm not even going to attempt to show you because I don't have a piece of graph paper here to go. So here we are. Writing the equation of a line. Slope-intercept